Hey, what's up everyone? SKULM here, and in today's video we're going to talk about Diablo 4 Season Patch Notes. Developer livestream is concluded and they have released the patch notes. We're going to be going over these notes very quickly from a Necromancer POV. So I hope this video will be short and brief. So first of all, we're going to look at some changes. I'm not going to go over all of the details. We're going to go just into the main focus. So the latest changes are highlighted in red color, and I have to talk about something. Gans Blessing unique boost, which I used in the PTR on my Summon Necromancer, that granted me a free Blood Mist, are actually buffed. So now from 20 to 30% chance, they have a 40 to 60% chance to cast Blood Mist. As I explained in my Summon Necromancer build guide video, you have pretty much Corpse Tendrils and Blood Mist on cooldown. And when Corpse Tendrils is not on cooldown, anything you cast will trigger Blood Mist. So that can happen more frequently as well. It would happen in every 12 seconds, now it will happen seconds. Some minor changes as well to certain legendaries. The Ebonpiercer unique amulet has been nerfed. In the PTR, it had inherent 100% lucky hit chance, and a lot of Necromancer players, including myself, we have used this item, a Blight Shadow Necromancer, which literally destroyed everything. It's tier 200. Now, they have removed that 100% lucky hit chance from this projectile. 4 of these projectiles had that lucky hit. So that would proc your Elemental Surge, the Shadow Damage version, almost all the time. So you would spam Blight and each of these projectiles would proc the Elemental Surge damage, and that you would further modify that damage with Paragon, Wither and whatnot, and Blighted aspect and whatnot. So that's been actually fixed, sort of, which is a nerf, but I think the build can still function even with this change. It's not going to be as strong as before, but I think it can still function. However, I want to talk about something, and it is actually very important. Go to the Necromancer balance chain. Now, so we know the Ebonpiercer has been changed, so that's a given. Brewers Embrace, I think this item is underpowered, but it is what it is. Now we're gonna go over to the Necromancer. Pretty important. As you know, in the PTR, we have 2 main builds that sort of shined above all of the other Necromancer. First one was the Blight Shadow Necromancer, and the second one was the Summon Necromancer. That yay. So, I'm not gonna go over the new Decompose buff to movement speed from Decompose. We're just gonna focus on what matters. Shadow Mages actually kinda deal more damage now. So the second upgrade now has an additional Shadow Bolt fired every 3 attacks, down from 4. So that's gonna net in an overall damage. However, I am going to be using the first upgrade because that is 3% X multiplicative damage, and that is granting me that damage for each active Shadow Mage, which contributes to my damage and my Golem's damage as well. So I still think the first upgrade, the 3x increased damage for each active Shadow Mage, is the best option upgrade you can get. Speaking about Bone Mages casting Bone Spear every 6th attack instead of having a 25% chance, I'm not sure if this is a good change. It is definitely going to make things a little bit more guaranteed, but every 6th attack means you pretty much have to stack a lot of attack power so that get these procs more consistent. Same time, honestly, which I think it's not worth it, but I'm willing to be surprised by a Bone Spear army Summon Necromancer, but I don't think this is going to be the main play. I might be wrong. I would love to be wrong about it. Lidless wall lucky hit chance increased from 5%, 20% to 15, 30%. Not a game-breaking change in my opinion. Bloodless Scream essence gain, there is nothing like that. Now, about the Dominate glyph, and this is a sort of bad news for Blood Surge and Blood Lance Necromancers, is actually nerfed. So the bonus overpower damage per 5 willpower reduced from 39.9 14.9 at glyph level 21. So that bonus overpower damage from Dominate was actually pretty significant, actually contributing towards the power level of the build. I don't know why they nerfed Blood Surge and Blood Lance, but I think there will still be alternatives to work around this nerf, but at the same time, I don't think Blood Surge or Blood Lance is going to be the main build to play Season 4, because there are so much stronger builds, namely the Blight Shadow Necromancer and the Summon Necromancer, and all of the Summon Necromancer variants in general. About the Cult Leader Paragon node, I'm actually surprised to see that they have not made a change. So basically the new reworked version is saying that your minions deal 30x increased damage for each 20% x of attack speed bonus they have, up to a maximum of 100% attack speed bonus. In my previous video about the Summon Necromancer Season 4 build guide, I have mentioned how important attack speed is. Increase the benefit you get from Cult Leader. In that video, I have literally shown my attack power bonuses and the attack power I got from my pieces, the gear, and the damage of the minions. So this is going to make things a lot more juicier for us going forward. I don't know if they're gonna nerf this in the future, but it is what it is. Now, I want to talk about something pretty important. On the PC Gamer interview covered, we have literally a statement from Blizzard. This is what PC Gamer interview said. The Elemental Surge tempering affix has been nerfed. Blizzard says that's been adjusted to be a real number now. This was on the PC Gamer interview. However, I cannot see this in the patch note. And this was also not mentioned in the developer livestream. So I'm not sure if this information from PC Gamer is accurate or not. It should be accurate because that was an exclusive interview, and also all of the other information that the PC Gamer interview has provided has been turned out to be accurate and true. So this is not included in the patch notes. This is not included in the latest changes. At least I couldn't see it. I couldn't read it. And also this has not been mentioned in the developer livestream. So I really want to see the Elemental Surge nerf, because the Elemental Surge is the bread and butter of Shadow Light Necromancer build. So depending on the nerf, we have the Elemental Surge maybe thrown out the door. I'm not sure, I don't know. Maybe the build will still function. But then you also have Ebonpiercer NERF on top of this as well. So the build is definitely going to lose power. It is still, I think, going to be a good build. But again, I have no information, no data. So I really would like to find out what's the nerf on the Elemental Surge, like what's the new values, so I can actually calculate towards. That's a very important, I think, topic to cover. So there are some other changes that we're gonna go through, and then we're gonna continue to our next subject. So there are some item changes and loot upgrades and the elixirs. As you see, there's everything here. I will also link the description, link the post in the description. So in Gauntlet in Season 3, boss monsters won't drop a shrine if they have been regenerated by the Pillar of Proving. Now this actually changes everything for Gauntlet, and I think there is only 1 or 2 weeks remaining on the Gauntlet. So the last week of the Gauntlet is going to be very interesting. If I read this and understand this correctly, this means we cannot chain artillery and channeling shrines and whatnot, and that is going to dramatically reduce the clear speed of certain classes. So basically that's it. The bug fixes, again, you can see there has been a lot of bug fixes as well. For the Necromancer bug fixes, this is what I wanted to cover next. You read the red text. It's actually minor fixes. It seems like minor fixes, but I want to talk about something. Fixed an issue where the movement speed bonus from the corporeal glyph would persist after unequipping the glyph or when the player had no active. Guess who was using this? And I'm actually happy that they listened to this and they are now fixing this because, come on, really. So, fixed an issue where Hued Flesh did not trigger Necrotic Carapace. This is huge. This is huge because now Necrotic Carapace, considering the fortification damage reduction change. So now when you're fortified, your DR, your damage reduction, is going to be 15%, up from 10%. They actually buffed that. In Season 4, when you're fortified, your damage reduction is 15%, not 10%. And Necrotic Carapace before did not gain the benefit from Hued Flesh. You would get Necrotic Carapace fortification from the Reapers spawning corpses. Now, Summon Necromancers especially have both Reapers and Hued Flesh. So basically that's going to grant them a lot of fortification, which is a huge W for the Summon Necromancer, because that damage reduction will help a lot. Also, I want to quickly talk about the evade charges. Now you have more evade charges, and basically attacks reduce, evade cooldown is also buffed, so in terms of general mobility, that's going to be really good. Okay. Now, looking at these changes, I want to quickly talk about the untouched power level of the Necromancer, mainly the Summon Necromancer. So in the PTR, we had many variations of Summon Necromancer doing tremendous amount of excellence. They were performing really well, namely the billion golem hit Necromancer builds. The one that I use was my own build. It actually used Elemental Surge and Infinite Blood Mist. You were literally permanently in Blood Mist because you had Yen's Blessing, a lot of CDR, and then your army would help you. Lighted Corpse Explosions, Abhorrent Decrepify, and whatnot were pretty safe, and you would deal decent amount of damage. Now, this is an example build. I am going to release further videos and make a Necromancer tier list, build tier list for Season 4. But in this video, let's quickly go over, for example, an example build. For example, on the Helm, we can get Intelligence, Golem Mastery, and Armor. Then we can also increase our armor with Total Armor and Decrepify size. We can use Tyrael Smite because this new Uber Unique actually gives us a free Artillery Shrine. And the Necromancer has Decrepify when you spam Decrepify, which costs little energy resource. But when you spam it, Decrepify has physical damage base. And when you have this artillery, it actually gets scaled up your multiplicative damage increase. For example, Blighted. And we're gonna use Blighted Corpse Explosion at that damage increase. So we might have a scenario where we literally spam artillery and basically just do either single target or we spam Corpse Explosions, which then outward and do AoE damage. So, and Tyrael Smite also provides 10% damage reduction, as well as resistance to elements, maximum resistance to all elements, all stats. So the 10% damage reduction from Tyrael Smite is really attractive. But let's say the artillery damage or the unique Uber Unique effect is not worth it, then we can swap this to tempered legendary chest item and get Harlequin Crest because of the 20% damage reduction from there, as well as the cooldown reduction and all stats. Anyway, what I want to say is you can get ranks of Golem Mastery on your helm, chests, gloves, pants, boots. You know where I'm going with this, right? So when you stack all of this, and remember, they can roll as a greater FX as well. When it rolls as a greater FX, that is going to tremendously increase the amount of power you have. So, for example, let's look at the gloves. Grasping Veins bonus critical strike damage as well as critical strike chance. Aspect of Hardened Bones, 20% damage reduction. Now all our minions get 100% of our stats. Well, remember this, pretty important. On the boots, again, ranks the Golem Mastery. On the weapon, now, weapon is a debate right now. You can use a two-hander, or then you can use a one-hander and a shield, because the shields have damage reduction affix on them. But for sake of offensive focused build, let's talk about the two-hander options. Scythe will offer the highest damage output because scythe damage is a bit higher than sword damage. However, the inherent property of the sword is extra critical strike damage, whereas the scythe grants you life on kill. So up to you. I personally would like to play two-handed sword because it kind of looks better in my opinion. And also the 30x, not 30x, the 30% critical strike damage, the inherent upgrade from that is going to work towards your golem damage as well. But mainly on your two-hander weapon, you want intelligence, damage, and attack speed. Okay? And of course, as the tempering, you want damage, and then, depending on the Elemental Surge nerf, if they really butcher the Elemental Surge, where it's really not that good to play it anymore, you can go minion attack speed. But if the Elemental Surge is still decent, there is a possibility that you can slap on a physical damage version of the Elemental Surge into this tempering slot. Also, for the boots, I am recommending Aspect of Occult Dominion, but what you can do is basically get Yen's Blessing here if you want to have permanent Blood Mist. But that's another variation of a Summon Necromancer, which I'm going to reveal later. On the amulet, we're using Blighted Aspect. You're gonna probably ask, but what are you doing? This is a Summon Necromancer. Why are we playing Blighted Aspect? Blighted Aspect grants us a lot of damage increase, and this is a universal multiplicative damage. I'm going to come to this later, but check the tempers. You have Golem damage plus Golem active cooldown reduction, as well as ranks to Hellbent Commander as the inherent stat of the amulet. These are important points, I will come to those. Ring of the Sacrilegious Soul is still good because it casts automatic corpse explosion, and that automatic corpse explosion as well as the automatic corpse tendrils are going to help you trigger Flesh Eater faster. So if you can manually cast 1 or 2 corpse explosions, basically depending on the, of course, the affix, the stats, in 1 or 2 seconds you're gonna get Flesh Eater. This 40% X multiplicative damage increase. Of course, on the ring we are using Aspect Damned because the damage increase is perfect. That's a multiplicative damage increase, and it is not shadow damage to enemies. The website needs to update this. It is outdated tooltip right now. They have changed this in Season 4. This is going to be flat, universal 50x damage increase, not shadow damage only. That's pretty good. On the temper slots, you're pretty much seeing where I'm going with this. Damage, then Golem active cooldown reduction, because when we hit the Golem active, it's going to hit a truck. It's going to hit really hard. Skill bar, Grey Skeleton, Bone Storm, Corpse Explosion, Corpse Tendrils, Decrepify, and then Golem. We're using upgrade number 2 for the Reapers to create more corpses, 3x for each Shadow Mage we have, and then upgrade 2 on the Blood Golem. If you need to survive, you can go with upgrade 1, but for the maximum damage dealers out there, upgrade 2 is the way to go, because while your Blood Golem is healthy, they gain 20%, 25% damage reduction, and 50% increased damage. Holy moly, you know where this is going. On our skill tree, the first 2 points doesn't matter, put it wherever. Put 1 point into Unliving Energy, 3 points into Hued Flesh. Remember, this grants Fortify now. We're not playing Blood Mist in this variation. We're going 3 points in Skeletal Warrior Mastery, just Blighted Corpse Explosion, for proccing the Shadow Blight. Then 2 points into Grim Harvest. You can put 1 point here, but we don't have many expanders. So Fueled by Death, max it, of course. Max Death's Approach, max Death's Embrace. Amplify damage maxed. Decrepify into Abhorrent. Skeletal Mage Mastery maxed. Using Corpse Tendrils to apply Vulnerable, which is pretty consistent. Necrotic Carapace, 2 points are enough. you will get fortification to the roof anyway. And that grants you 15% damage reduction now, up from 10. Remember? Reaper's Pursuit for some movement speed. Gloom and Terror, I don't know, I put 2 points there because I had some spare points. It's just shadow damage, so it kind of benefits your shadow mages, I guess. Crippling Darkness to stack up the stagger bar, and against elites and whatnot, just stun kind of interrupts them. Now, this is where things go crazy. Golem Mastery, it shows rank 3 on the website, but trust me, you look the gear, you watched it, it's going to scale so high. It is actually going to scale so high, your golem will literally one-shot boss. Crazy. And in the patch notes, I don't see any nerf. That means it is actually going to be live, and it is ridiculous. I'm talking about killing uber tormented bosses in one hit, 4-player lobbies. Like, it's that strong. Inspiring Leader, Hellbent Commander. This is another multiplicative damage increase. Your minions deal 45% x multiplicative damage increase while you're close to them. So basically, if you're blood misting or just running around your golem, that adds another multiplicative damage increase. That's defense. I think this is still good to have, although it's not super necessary because, again, our minions are taking 100% of the stats we have. So you can pretty much, depending on your stats, you can choose not to invest even 2 points here. You can invest them somewhere else. And lastly, as the ultimate, we're going to be playing Bone Storm. And of course, Prime Bone Storm and Supreme Bone Storm. Why are we playing Bone Storm? For 2 reasons. Well, it increases our existing damage. A lot of people are confusing this text. It does not grant us 15% damage reduction. It increases whatever damage reduction we have by 15%. So, if you have, let's say, 30% damage reduction, you have to take 15% of the percent. So that's 4.5. So from 30%, you're jumping up to 34.5% damage reduction. You're not jumping up to 45%, okay? And the critical strike chance increase is good because of the golem ability we're going to use. So that grants us another extra chance, which can make the golem crit. For the ultimate, you can use Kalan's Edict, but we're stacking a lot of attack power, attack speed on our gear anyway. So we can actually put Shadow Blight. And remember, we are using Blighted aspect on our amulet. That's going to give us massive multiplicative damage increase. And we're going to be using the Ring of the Sacrilegious Soul, which will proc Blighted Corpse explosions everywhere. And we can also manually cast it 1 or 2 times. And that's going to stack a lot. When you reach 10 stacks of Shadow Blights, you are just going to hit the Golem ability, and that's going to get all the benefit from it. Hit like a truck. Again, there are other variations. I'm going to make separate videos for that. Quickly going over the Paragon board. I'm not going to go into detail. Beginner, the first zone, we're using Gravekeeper. I've already explained this. Gravekeeper buffs the rare nodes, so you get more damage. Okay, if you use Amplify, Sacrificial, Corporeal, I think you get up to 22.5% damage, something like this. Whereas if you use Gravekeeper, you straight up get 25% damage. Also, it goes up to 12% X multiplicative rather than 10x multiplicative, and you're gonna be having a lot of corpses because we are going to play Reapers. Reapers are going to create corpses. Hued Flesh are also going to proc from Blighted Corpse Explosion, so that's going to be a lot of corpses to go around. Okay, the second board we're gonna go is Cult Leader, and we're gonna slot in Dead Razor here. All right. Third board, Flesh Eater for the 40x damage increase, and then we're putting Amplify here because we're playing Decrepify. And then the fourth board, Scent of Death, into Corporeal because it buffs, of course, whatever you have here, the magic nodes. Fifth board, Hulking Monstrosity. Your golem has 40% X increased max life and deals 100% X damage. And I put the golem I put the golem here because why not? It has a lot of willpower in it. You can go up to 54 willpower in Scent of Death if you play it that way, but I think 39 out of 5 is pretty. We take Frenzied Golem, Borrowed Strength, and finally we go down to Golem. Okay, I will link this, and I will of course make a tier list video for the Necromancer. But this has been it for the patch notes. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel, like the videos, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.